Example problem 1. Solving using subtraction and division. So we're asked here to solve 125 plus 3b equals 154.97. That should sound familiar. Alright, so our goal is to isolate b, our variable. And remember, in the case of the puppy dog problem, b represents the price of each bag of dog food. For us in this problem, it's just been reduced to algebra, and we're isolating the variable b, or trying to solve for b. So what we have is an equation, and we have two sides of the equation that are equal. That's represented to us by the equal sign. Often, I'll use the analogy of a scale or a teeter-totter. In this case, the teeter-totter is balanced. We have 154.97 having the same value, or mass in this case, as 125 plus 3b. And the idea is that we need to get b by itself so that it's the only thing left on the left-hand side of this teeter-totter. So thinking about children on a teeter-totter, if b wants to play by itself, well, we would have to do the opposite, or in this case, ask 125 to get off of this side of the teeter-totter. That's the same as subtracting 125 from this side of the equation, but in the case of a teeter-totter, if 125 just jumps off, well, then all of a sudden we have an unbalanced teeter-totter. And I think we've all been in that situation. It's not always pretty, and it's not always easy, and potentially it's dangerous. Now in algebra, it's less dangerous to your physical well-being, but it's still not best practice. So if we subtract 125 from one side, we must also subtract 125 from the other side. That maintains the equality of both sides of this equation, or the balance if you're thinking of it in terms of mass. So 125 minus 125, of course, those cancel. That's why we did it in the first place. And we'll find what we have remaining on the left-hand side of this equal sign, 3b, and that being equivalent to, well, 154.97 minus 125. I think that's going to be 29.97. I did that in my head pretty quickly, so I want to double check that by addition. Does 29.97 plus 125 add up to 154.97? So 125 plus 29 and 97 hundredths. Well, sure enough, we've got the 97 hundredths. 9 plus 5, 14. Not quite lining up nicely here, but I think I can keep track. 2 plus 2 plus 1 is 5, and 154.97. Excellent. It's a very small eraser. Okay, back to the task at hand. So 3b equals 29.97. Well, now it's almost as though if we were to think of the teeter-totter analogy, well, we still have balance. That's great. But instead of thinking this as 3 times b, let's think of this as 3 b's being on the left-hand side of the teeter-totter, and 3 groups of something. I hate to put kids in a teeter-totter in bags, but we can think of this as 3 bags that are all of equivalent weight or equivalent value that add up to 29.97. And then we ask, well, essentially we're asking 2 of these to get off the teeter-totter and 2 of these to get off of the teeter-totter. In that way, we will have 1b isolated, playing by itself, and we'll have the value that it's equivalent to on the other side. Now in algebra, it looks a little bit different, using a blue pen, by dividing. So we'll simply divide both sides of this equation by 3. Now, division is the inverse operation of multiplication, and that's why we choose division. We divide both sides by 3. 3 times b divided by 3, well, those 3's cancel out. Switching back to black, b is switching back to black. There we go. B remains on the left-hand side of our equal sign, or our teeter-totter, and 29.97, well, if I'm not mistaken, 999 is 1/3 of 2997. But we should substitute our answer. We've gone through all this work. I've talked about a teeter-totter. That was kind of fun. But once we have the solution, it's often easier to check it than it was to find it in the first place. So for less than half of the work of the problem, you can check your answer and ensure that it's correct. So to check your answer, substitute 999, the value we found to be equivalent to b, into the original equation in place of b, and check it. So we have 125 plus 3 times $9.99, I'm sorry, 9.99, this isn't necessarily the bags of dog food problem, equals $154.97. Stuck on puppy dog food. So 3 times $9.99, well, that's $29.97. Is it true that 125 plus $29.97 equals 154.97? Well, I've confirmed this earlier. Yes, it does. So not only did we get our answer, we checked our answer, and it seems correct. Now, of course, since I'm working here adjacent to the book's example, 154.97, there we go. It was correct. And time for a quick check. Solve 4g plus 11.6 equals negative 23.2. And check your solution.